Hey, shorties, welcome, welcome. Yes, indeed. Boom, already taken off the old monetization with the intro. Nah, I don't think YouTube picks up on that. Hi, welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday evening to you all. New shorties, old shorties, big shorties, little shorties. It's amazing to have you here. Yes, we love the intro. That song was created, written by our very own Turd Ferguson, aka Melissa Asylum, using AI music. Love it. And then my guy Adam Drives Helen created the phenomenal video, "Rock Out with Your Cock Out." Dare I say? No, don't say that. Don't say that. Tiff says it's a fucking banger. There's no censorship here. Say whatever you want. I have an amazing panel waiting. We have an amazing panel waiting backstage, pulled together this week. Some kind of credibility, an incredible hive mind. Without further ado, what's in the water in Canton? And yes, I was fixing my lipstick, Kimberlina. Aussie, welcome, my friend.
Hello, increduloso. That's the word you're looking for.
I mean, exemplars in the Free Karen Reid movement, knowledgeable, amazing humans who are passionate, informed, articulate. Whew, what more could we want this evening? Thank you so much, Aussie. Who else have we got? Good evening, Scott.
Hello, everybody.
Mr. Scott McGuinness, known and loved with a flag on his shoulder, and more recently, a voice on panels across YouTube.
I know. I don't know how that happened. But
I'm so glad.
It's come to be.
It's come to be, and so it shall be. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. Who else have we got here? Ms. Nurse Kim, Lovey.
Hello. Hi, Lovies. How are we tonight? Thank you so much for having me, Miss Shorty.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining us. I was just catching up on your, I'm an arsehole, and I was just catching up on your most recent chat with Mr. Betterow. Loving it.
Oh, yeah. That was the longest stream I have ever done in my life. And my legs were, hurting me from sitting on my bottom the whole time. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, but we almost did 3 hours and he gave me so much of his time. It was a lot, but you know him, he's such an amazing teacher that we went over so many things that it was awesome.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining. We will talk some about what he spoke about, among many other things. One more amazing woman. Scott, you're not a woman, but you can be an honorary woman. This can be your harem for tonight, okay? One more amazing woman to bring up on stage. Abby. Hello, my friend. Oh, wait. You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, my bad. Yes. Hi, how are you?
Usually my bad. Trust me. Chat knows I usually mute myself at least 2 or 3 times every stream and up. How are you, gorgeous?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks again for inviting me.
My absolute pleasure. I couldn't think of a more comprehensive, informed, diverse panel of people who around the world, around the States, you guys, we know this stuff. So what more could we want? Chat, what do you think? I think chat's pretty excited. Yes. So we were talking backstage. Scott, you were in court, actually inside the courtroom on Friday, yes?
Yeah, Stoughton District Court.
Thank you. For the Jill Daniels, supposedly Jill Daniels and Jim Ferris hearing, yes?
Yeah, their arraignment for alleged assault and battery on Aiden Carney, aka Turtle Boy, in front of D&E Pizza last July.
And there's been talk flying that has been somewhat of a rumor mill that Ms. Daniels was not in court because she was in rehab. Sir, what say you?
That was just a rumor that was popping up amongst the people from Canton that were in our protest group outside of court yesterday. That was just, the rumor mill around town. And then when we found out her appearance yesterday was rescheduled late Thursday afternoon, just kind of very last minute, and moved to next Friday, the 18th. we were outside, waiting for court to open and doing our thing, holding our signs and just chatting with each other. And that's the rumor that kind of popped up. Like maybe that's why they had to delay her arraignment another week, because theoretically, if she is in rehab, obviously that's why she can't get arraigned today. That's why that rumor kind of took off and started rolling.
And let's be honest, if Jill Daniels had decided to take herself to rehab, by all ostensibly that might not be a bad idea for Ms. Daniels. Who am I to say?
But there's been a lot of pushback on the rumor. People are saying it's not true. So who knows?
Okay.
All right. Jill's pushing back on the rumor herself. She's saying to her friend circle that it was something to do with her lawyer. So that's the information that Abby and I got yesterday.
But Aiden Carney shows up. We were already there and having our discussions about all this. And Aiden went live for like 7 minutes as he went in front of the court to greet us. And one of us said to Aiden, like, do you realize Jill Daniels was rescheduled till next week? Even Aiden Carney didn't know that.
So did Jim have his arraignment, or are they co-conspirators? Were they both moved?
Well, I mean, they were originally on the docket for both of them to be arraigned yesterday. And like I said, that wasn't changed till late Thursday. So Aiden didn't even know that until we were all standing together outside the court just before we went into the courtroom.
Okay. Meredith is here. Welcome, Meredith. Good to see you in chat. Thank you so much. And she is dispelling this rumor. This is a false rumor. She's not in rehab. Her attorney had to reschedule. I'm not a fan of Jill, but there's no need to spread lies. There you go. Put it to bed,
right.
Chat. Spread the truth, chat. Let's do it.
Meredith in the house, fangirl.
Yay, absolutely.
But I still think it's unusual, though, even though, she had issues with her attorney's scheduling. It's not necessarily mean that her arraignment would be rescheduled. You get arraigned usually without a lawyer anyways. I mean, Jim Ferris was arraigned. He hasn't retained a lawyer. So, I mean, they're doing a kind of like a favor. I don't know if that means anything, but she could have got arraigned yesterday, even though her lawyer couldn't make it.
Yeah, she's had to turn up.
Yes, Abby, you got something to say?
Oh, I was just gonna backtrack on that too, because that's similar to what Christy told us yesterday in the interview, was that there was a scheduling conflict with the lawyer and that she wasn't in rehab. So that was her story that she told us as well.
In the end, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just odd, you know what I mean, that they moved hers a week because of a lawyer or schedule issue.
Yes. I mean, it's not a huge charge. But it's not an insignificant charge either. So, and how was the vibe outside and inside court, Scott?
That was great. I mean, I think I never did a head count, but maybe we had, 15 people there. And then, of course, Aiden and Meredith, and we all went in. And the way that court works is they start letting people in the front door at like 8:30, 8:45. You all get processed. You can't sit down in the courtroom. You got to like hang in the hallway until the court officers open the courtroom. You know what I mean? So we're all kind of just hanging together in the hallway, waiting for the courtroom doors to open. And I think that was the time where Aiden was talking to somebody from the victim witness office. And I kind of overheard some of the questions Aiden was asking. And one of the questions he asked was, why isn't, Jill Daniels being arraigned today at the same time as, Jim Ferris? And he said kind of the same thing, like it was a lawyer scheduling thing and they got put off.
Well, good. No more rumors. That's the last thing we need. Just facts. Yes, we just want facts with receipts in all of this. So it's amazing to have both yourself, Scott, being there and Meredith in chat to be able to dispel that.
So the morning call, there's multiple people that are being arraigned. You know what I mean? So Jim Ferris, arrives and well, yeah, he's good. You know, we're going in, but you don't know if say there are raining 20 people that morning. You don't know like when he's going to be called. But we were surprised happily that he was called first, so we didn't have to sit through all the other ones.
Yes, all the other. Yes. Aussie, you had an amazing. You and Abby had a very insightful, interesting. It seemed to be very frank and forthright in conversation with someone previously well within the McAlbert camp. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Tell me
I would-
everything, girls.
I would hand it over to Abby because she reached out to Christy and arranged it. And I let Abby, just for the audience who doesn't know, I actually asked Abby to lead the interview and to do the whole driving it thing because I have such cruddy internet, as you all probably know by now. And so we had quite a few complaints this morning about Abby leading the interview, but we were literally doing it for the sake of the audience, not for our reasons, but for them. So for all those complaints,
people love to give such helpful feedback on things, don't they? With no real
right.
understanding of why.
But I would defer to Abby
Yeah.
to answer that question for you.
Yes, Abby, go.
Yeah, I mean the comments weren't great, but it was difficult because when we were interviewing her, I know that she was really nervous about it, and I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable, so I was trying to be very careful about my words. But I initially reached out to her because, funny enough, she was the individual that sent me the Sallyport video back in July, so she was the anonymous source. Well, I guess somebody gave the video to her. And I said it was, looked fake. And another Twitter account reached out to me and I asked this Twitter account to give me their original source. Christy texted me. So that was the first time that I initially met her. And then a couple weeks ago, she had a falling out with I like to call them the anti-collective. She had a falling out with the anti-collective and they were going back and forth. For some reason, this Karen Reed and AJ Snuggle video came back up again, even though I debunked it. But it came back up again in conversation. And she tagged me in a post. She tried to say who, because I go by my my married name. So I don't go by my maiden name. And I reached out to her and we started talking. I was like, oh, you kind of called me out. And then, she apologized and we kind of got into this conversation. And she started telling me about her ongoing issues now with the anti-collective because a bunch of different things happened. So she wanted to tell her side of the story. And Aussie was very interested in having her on her show. So we brought her on. And she did have a lot of helpful insights. I think it was an interesting perspective to see,
Sorry,
what?
That's my dog's making noise. Apologies.
Oh, no, that's fine.
You sure it's not wine clinking in the glass like you're drinking on the show? Sarcasm intended.
Oh, yeah, that was a good comment too. Somebody in the
Water.
Yeah, it was
Diet
a water glass. It was a water glass. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. I think she got a lot of crap from the anti-collective from going on there. I think a lot of those accounts that even just made comments probably weren't real accounts. I mean, I thought they were funny. But
Interesting. And actually that ties in, Kim, with what Mr. Betterow was talking about it sort of in the early stages of your interview with him last night, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Time. I don't know. I'm so confused.
It's a construct, Miss Shorty. We know this. All right. Our neurospicy brains were not available for that. Yeah.
And I loved and you also seem to love his sort of summing up of the Twitter people as the Twitter ombudsman.
The Twitter ombudsman that lives in Indiana on her couch. I can't get enough of Mr. Betterow when he started the man in the attic. So the Twitter ombudsman, I will report that and use it when I'm rebutting on my Twitter.
It's fantastic.
Can I just finish the Christy thing by saying she sent me a message, would like me to announce this. Because everybody asked, and we specifically didn't ask her this question because we weren't interested in the answer to this question. We were interested in her connection to you know, what was going on behind the scenes and how that was connected to Turtle Boy, Aiden. So that was the focus of our question. But she would like the audience to know that, just so you know where she stands, she knows these people are corrupt and that they're pissed because they're not winning like they normally would around their small town. And we can also see that with Duckgate, and she agrees with those points. So people were very curious about, you know, how she felt about some of that stuff. She knows they're corrupt. That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
And she knows Duckgate is an example of that corruption being played out on the FKRs. So just to clear the air on that one.
And that's
even
sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, even in our conversation, it seemed that the anti-collectives, even with that Karen Reed AJ video, you know, Carrie Lama set her up with that. So Carrie Lama gave her the video, said it was legit. She's the one that originally posted. So they kind of made her the patsy. So when they were wanting to post something that was misinformation, she just took their word for it. And I think in the end, she got burnt. And that's why she really wanted to come on this show to say, hey, you know, I didn't want to ask her opinion on Karen Reed, if she's guilty, if she's not guilty, because it was more about telling her story, how she got involved with them, and then letting, you know, after, you know, they've been making fake accounts about her, insulting her mental health, insulting her parenting on multiple fake accounts. So, you know, I wanted her to be able to get out there and say, hey, you know, what they're saying about me, you know, is untrue.
That was the main intention, but just to so the audience knows, she's not thinking Karen Reed is guilty like she was. So.
I found a really valuable insight, and to give some perspective, to change it from being such a binary in all of this, that there are some people that are in that town and in that on that side who aren't like radical lunatics. Like they're you know, she came across, like Romy says right now, Christy is a good human. She seemed to have a lot of she has common sense. She seemed like a reasonable person, and so I think that was really important. And also your discussion with her, sort of acknowledging that perhaps, probably, likely, there are some bad actors within the Free Karen Reed movement side of things who are perhaps not representing the movement as well as they could, perhaps anonymously, or perhaps
themselves. You just read the comments.
I would say not overtly in the open that we see Free Karen Reed supporters doing anything. We would call it out if we saw it.
I was about to ask you, Scott. I dare say that you know, the passion and the genuine good vibe of the core Free Karen movement people, and almost everybody, the vast majority of people on that side of things are good actors who behave in a way that represents Karen and Officer John O'Keefe.
I mean, even the height of the crowds, you know, during the trial. I mean, there was hundreds of us there, and there was never any issues. Or somebody like Rita Lombardi would be the liaison to the state police community action team, you know, like Sergeant Hardman, and we always worked great with the police that were there. We had huge crowds some days. There was never any problems at all.
Absolutely. I think in that interview, Ozzy, you referenced, and I hadn't heard this term before, but I knew of the players in it, the sort of subgenre of crime, true crime and drama. And that's important to know, that there are people who on both, in any arena, who just like to be agitators. They like to stir up shit to get traction, to create shit. And that's important to remember too, that it may well be not anybody within the Free Karen Reed side, even loosely aligning themselves or presenting an alignment, but actually some outside forces who are doing that. And Ozzy and Abby, you guys both kind of suggested that it could well be highly likely the people on the anti side pretending to be the good guys.
Well, we were always on the lookout for that. We were saying that amongst each other. I mean, especially as the crowd started growing exponentially, and there was people showing up, free Karen Reed, but we've never met them before. And not that you want to be suspicious of people like that, but if they really wanted to infiltrate our group and then all of a sudden morph into something else, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've seen people flip, like people who started on for whatever reason.
Well, just before you go on to that, I just want to say that given some of the comments on my own YouTube post with the interview, there are some people who don't get it. There are some people out there who are just plain, I'm going to do, and I'm going to say what I'm going to say, no matter how rude or obnoxious it is, and you're just going to live with it. Well, they're kind of learning that I don't just live with it at the moment, but
I mean, there was some days, even pre-trial protesting, and some of the bad actors would be coming into court. Some of the characters that people hate. Now that I think back on it, there were certain days where maybe a few people, in our group that maybe kind of took it out of hand as far as what they might be saying to say, like, one of the bad actors, and somebody in our group would come up to him and say, can you tone it back? But that was probably the worst thing I ever seen out of the whole time.
The point being, there are some people who are ignorant and just want to be nasty, and they are sending, nasty texts to the witnesses. They are doing those things. But, as Scott said, we call them out. We don't let them get away with it. So
I mean, unless your boots on the ground and experience being there and in that group, it's hard for me to describe the emotions of the moment. You know what I mean? It's something very hard to describe unless you've been down there with free Karen Reed, especially on one of the bigger days.
And I don't think it's the majority. I think it's a very small, minority of the free Karen Reed. I do think, even just based on the live stream, we actually had a lot of positive comments during the live stream. But when, we posted part 1, after that, it appeared there was more negative comments, and not a lot of them were targeted towards Chrissy, which I didn't like, because she did, take time to go on the show to explain her story. She confirmed a lot of things. She confirmed, Turtle Boy and Lindsay, the whole setup. She also confirmed that Carrie Lama never got fired from her job after the Turtle Boy articles. There was a lot of interesting insights there, just in confirmation. And when she started asking questions within the anti-collective, that's when they started having a falling out, because she was asking too many questions. So I think it's a good lesson that, if you are in that majority of the anti-Karen Reed, being careful of saying, hey, I'm switching sides, or maybe I have a different opinion in this new court case coming up. Maybe this is what's going to happen to you, because they were really awful to her after she started asking questions. I mean, it was horrible. Horrible.
Right.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say is getting back to court so we can just wrap that story up.
Yes.
So I think one of the reasons it might be a situation now where the court knows there's a whole bunch of Turtle Boy supporters there. And I think it's advantageous for the court just to do Jim Ferris first. So after he's done, we'll all leave. But anyways, he gets up there, and it's for the arraignment, and the ADA has to tell the judge, Your Honor, just to let you know, we need a special prosecutor on this case, and we have been unable to find one. So I stand before you, Your Honor, just because somebody has to stand here. And the judge immediately called for a sidebar. So I imagine that the ADA is telling the judge, like, look, I guess we can arraign him, but I can't really say anything about the case because I can't prosecute it. We need a independent prosecutor. You know what I mean? So it was very weird. I've never seen that before. I mean, the alleged crime was the last 3rd of July, and here we are, October 11th for arraignment, and DA Meatball Morrissey's office hasn't been able to find an independent prosecutor yet. It seems very weird.
Yeah, it does.
It does seem weird. Yes, Kim, what are your thoughts on the all of this?
Yeah, on all of it, I did see Turtle Boy's live, his 7-minute live, Scott, and I had questions about how yesterday was going to go. We know that, still at a standstill, unfortunately. And the arraignment, the whole feel of it feels off because, like you're saying, Morrissey should have already had this in place, but in theory, did they need to arraign them first? So they're not going to even probably get going with it until after we have Jill taken care of next week, allegedly, hopefully. And as it relates to your Aussie and Abby's interview, I'm so sorry I didn't get to see it, but I'm listening and I'm taking into every single thing that you guys are saying. I'm very interested in that. My chats, I like to allow there to be, I never mute or get rid of anyone unless you're an overt walking asshole. Okay. If you're calling somebody like a see you next Tuesday or like attacking people for unnecessary things, your opinion doesn't offend me. You can call me any name you want, but please don't hurt other people who are just innocent having opinions in my chat. But I feel as though our side, just in my humble opinion, I would never go out of my way to attack anybody, but I will defend myself till the end of time. Okay. And there has been an uptick of Twitter warfare that I'm fighting every day of my life. And
I see your posts.
I'm sorry. Like, okay. And pardon me, whoever was the lovey that said, I saw Kim say F you to somebody. Listen, it was the fake Braden Connie. And the fake Braden Connie also told me to F myself 4 different times. And it was totally on different posts. It was when I'm covering or giving an opinion on Enrique Delgado Garcia. The fact that people don't have brain cells to
that one's
separate cases is it's very concerning. Okay. That's what I will say. And just because you don't like my opinion on the Karen Reed case, how dare you, just try to stomp out people being activists and trying to be assistants for a family that is grieving and suffering 30 days into their son being tragically killed at Mass State Police Academy in New Braintree with no information, nothing new, no suspensions, no firings, no autopsy report revealed, nothing. So,
Can I add to that, Kim?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I feel like people take that, the disagreements that they're having, the to and fro's that they're having on social media, they take that into your chat and then onto your channel, and it reflects on how they're arguing on Twitter, and it's not reflective of how we're presenting things or would like to be ourselves with our channels. And people need to understand that there's that line, that what you're doing on Twitter, you're fine, you're arguing all day long, and so you can't handle the morons, if you want to call them that. But bringing it to our channels is a whole other story, because as Kim is communicating, we've got room for people who disagree with us, and we will quite happily make them welcome. And that was one of the last things that Christy said. She's never felt more welcomed. And
that's what was important to us.
That's right. That was the important part for me. That message was more important than anything else that she said, that the moment she has switched and gone, she's not entirely, Karen Reed is innocent, but she understands that there's, a lot of corruption.
Oh, we lost.
Oh, is she? Yeah, but sorry. Did she just come back on?
There
you go. No, keep going. Sorry, I know you just dropped out there for a second.
Oh, she's gone again.
But yeah, I think it was. I wasn't mad, and honestly, I'm actually kind of glad that when I went through the live feed comments actually weren't too bad. So the live video, when I checked the comments in that section, they were pretty good. They weren't too attacking of Christy. But when we launched the part 1, which was just the video, that's where they started attacking her. And I kind of backtracked. I'm like, hey, if you want to attack somebody, attack me. I am not a professional podcaster. I do media for a living. I am not a online personality. Don't want to be an influencer type of thing. But they were being really mean towards her. So that's where I think it gets a little bit extra. If you want to attack, me as a guest or Aussie, because I've been on, Aussie's channel a couple different times. That's fine. Honestly, I just think it's kind of funny half the time. But that's where it got a little bit too much. And she did take a lot of time and she was really nervous about it. And when she came on, I told her that I'd be there the whole time. I tried to shift the conversation, make sure she felt comfortable. But I think there's a time and a place to state your opinion. And maybe when you're on somebody's channel and you're going out of your way to set the record straight, give us some insider insights. Probably not the place for like comments like that, but you're gonna get that. And I don't even think half of them were from Karen Reed. I think they were probably from troll accounts, to be honest, because usually Aussie has pretty good comments. There's really not a lot of negative in there, but that one was it was really attacking to Christy, which I felt bad about because she did take that time.
I just want to also say to Scott and Abby, I really appreciate that you guys come on and fill the blanks when I get kidnapped. I love you both.
Get to work on the Starlink antenna there, Aussie.
And
Elon Musk.
I just want you both to know that, I couldn't do live streams because my internet is so patchy like it is. I couldn't do them without you guys. So if my audience is going to rubbish you because either of you, because you're on one of my lives and you're doing a lot of the talking, I am going to come down. I'm like Kim, I'm going to defend you. So
I'm looking at the comments and everybody's talking about, oh, it's, 4 women and Scott. And I'm like, well, that's about the ratio of Free Karen Reed anyways. 4 to 1. So I'm used to it.
We had fun the last live stream that we were on. I think we talked for how long was it? I think I was only on the live stream for 7 hours, but that was a long live stream.
For sure.
That was a long one.
How many hours?
7 hours.
That was our record.
I was on it for 7, but 11 hours.
Aussie Insider can keep me talking.
I had to go tonight.
Wow, you guys are professionals, okay? I'm getting leg cramps. I'm Charlie horsing. I need to take a walk around the block. I thought last night I said was the longest stream I've ever done, and it wasn't even 3 hours. You guys are pros.
Nurse Kim has to do one like 4 times as long to beat Aussie.
Oh nope. Aussie, you're the winner. You win that one, babe.
That was a long stream. That was so long.
My longest stream, I think, is like almost 4 hours, but I have been doing 2-3 streams a day that are like 2-3 hours each. So last weekend, I think I did in the space of 24 hours, I did 13 and a half hours worth of streaming. So, but I can't do a consecutive one. I don't know how my dogs wouldn't allow me. My dogs would be like, yep, no. That's not happening. It's just not happening.
I don't expect it to be a competition, but it was really funny because Abby had just advised me, as my marketing manager, had just advised me, you should keep your streams to an hour and a half. I
was like, 1 to 2 hours is good.
So I was on Tommy's live today. I was trying to explain to him. Oh, I think Mike. Sometimes you just meet somebody in this world that you can just have a conversation that's seamless and endless, and that's how me and Aussie are when we're on. It's just somebody listening into our super long phone call.
I think that's
the best. Why I always say you're answering I always say to everybody, thank you for answering my FaceTime, because for me, it's like my best friends from out of town and we just talk all the shit together, So that is they just don't want to put the camera on because they're like, all right, I'll listen to you, but I don't need to put the camera on, Kim. That's how I have to think of it.
I think back to your point, Scott, the best lives actually from an audience perspective are the ones where it feels like you're just listening in almost voyeuristically to a proper conversation. Like that's the best kind. People love that. And if you guys have a magic that you just naturally have that and just can talk for hours and hours and happen to have it live streaming, bravo.
Yeah.
I think what I loved, one of the most things that Christy said, and Kim, you really it's a great interview. but was when she said, it doesn't matter to me either way whether Karen Read is guilty or Karen Read is innocent. It doesn't affect my life at all. And I found that, again, a really interesting perspective when from what we understand, the McAlberts and then the key people, KP, the fake victim, those people, clearly their lives, it affects them very deeply. And not least of all, because they've inserted themselves or allowed themselves to be drawn in through being allegedly informants, or I think it's not allegedly anymore, is it? I think we can agree that
we can agree it's probably, yeah.
Kate Peter in particular is in it, right? And so Bedero's second letter, details that very clearly. Kim, I haven't got to it yet, but I presume you spoke a little about that, or was that something he couldn't speak on because of his involvement in it?
Oh, we danced, babe. We danced as close to the sun as we could. And, of course, Mark and I talked like before. I was like, oh gosh, give me parameters, because of course I was going knee deep. I wanted to be knee deep in clams, like down with Bev, at the Cape. So I was like, tell me everything. And he was like, well, Kim, come on now. I need you to reel you back in, babe. So he did say that he would give me everything that he could, which he did. And he thinks they're in great shape for upcoming trial, which is going to be in December for the lower charges. There's 2, and that will be at Stoughton District. Now, we had 2 breaking, very interesting things that Mr. Bederow told me. One about the Turtle Boy case first is there have been, again, I hate to go down Twitter warfare, but there have been potentially housewives in Indiana that have told us that why would Mark Bederow send these letters to the court for evidentiary findings? Okay, why wouldn't he have just filed a Rule 17? Well, she's a lawyer. Okay, she is not just a housewife on a couch in Indiana. She also has a law degree, bitch. So no, she doesn't. JK. So she has no idea what she's talking about. And of course, what is necessary is to send a letter in order to compel and see what the response is going to be. Now, either the DA's office is going to say, I am going to provide this information that has been requested eloquently, incredibly, chef's kiss, Mark Bederow, in those letters, or they will have to go and move forward with a Rule 17. Okay. And these are things that clearly I wouldn't even know all the shits, and he was able to explain that to us and why it was so imperative that it came out at this time in order to set them up to gather this evidence prior to the first trial.
Right. It's just so I'm trying to gather my words. It's just mind-blowing that whenever we think the biggest, most ridiculous revelations come to light, something new happens. Yes?
Agreed.
Why?
Well, I mean, Kate Peter was the driving force behind all of Turtle Boy's troubles in the Karen Read thing. I mean, the original Kenneth Mello charging document on Turtle Boy with all excerpts from his shows. Kenneth Mello didn't look those up and research them and catalog them. Kate Peter did all that.
Yes, exactly. And that, again, back to Kate Peter and then Abby and Aussie, your interview with Christy, she said that it was Krusty Pandy's Kate Peter who was the one who was supposedly taking those photos of Aiden's vehicle and also effectively stalking his children getting on the school bus.
With Jen McCabe's sister.
Yeah.
Talked about nuggets. People like, well, I didn't learn anything new from that stream. I'm like, BS. We learned new stuff.
I mean,
Sorry.
one of Kate Peter's charges out of Leominster District Court is when she trespassed on Aiden's now estranged wife's house. and she left a threatening note under the doormat and took photographs of the property and then bragged about it on social media.
I thought it was all. Oh, sorry, Aussie. No, you go.
To Mrs. Parks's point, I fell asleep to Kim and Bettero last night, and so I didn't catch the whole thing. So we're even, love. We have to go watch each other's streams now to catch up on what was said.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry I couldn't get it today, but I'm going to, as soon as we're off, I'm tuning into Aussie's channel to see what Christy had to say, because it's so valuable. You're right, girls. Like, this is valuable information. We want to be a place and a space for people that, if they change their minds for whatever reason and do not want to associate specifically, you know, with some characters in which we have learned of throughout the Karen Reed trial that have rubbed us the wrong way due to significant character flaws, okay, in my humble opinion, and like a hive mentality. You call us a cult, but you are the hive mentality. And if you're saying that you can't have a different, you're asking too many questions, so now you're kicked out of the group. Ask me every question, and if I have an answer, I am going to talk to you about it all day, every day. If I don't, I'll do research and try to get back to you or direct you to somebody who would know. I would never turn someone away. You know, that's a difference.
I mean, people need to understand the origin of Krusty Panties and Kate Peter in her history with Turtle Boy. I'm not sure everybody knows that background about her and what, after Aiden fired her, and how since that moment forward, it's almost like Penguin versus Batman. I mean, she's like insane, out to get Batman, Turtle Boy at every turn. So if you're a long-term Turtle rider like I am, Kate Peter was already a villain in our world. She's only being exposed to the world, you know, since Aiden broke the Karen Reed cover-up framing scandal. And that's when Kate Peter got involved with the DA's office, helped craft all the charging documents on Turtle Boy. Her mission is to take down Turtle Boy, and DA Morrissey and the state police hate Turtle Boy because he broke previous scandals in the state police. One of those was Leon Genduso, who now we find out is aligned herself with Kate Peter. It's like this coven of witches out to get Turtle Boy.
Listen, we're good witches. I'm in a good coven, okay? So don't call them witches. We'll call them trolls, because
he's referring to the Salem aspect, I think. But I just wanted to add the other thing that I think Christy said that was important information was oh crap, it just fell out of my head.
Well, she did say too that there was rumors. I can't remember the exact date, but the audience probably knows, where she was supposedly fired from a property management company, but really she was working for Marty the PI, and she was fired from Marty PI. And this is what, you know, Chrissy believes to be true in her opinion. She was fired from Marty the PI because she was using under his license, using, you know, PI services to track down Aiden. So things like this, where you learn valuable information, I always say you get more, you know, you get more honey, you get more flies with honey. And if you just are more compassionate, you know, you can find out really good information if you're not attacking that person. You know what I mean? So I think it was really good to have her on the show, just because this is information that we could have never confirmed, because she was in the inner circle. She knew Kate, she knew Lindsay, she knew Carrie Lama. So she can confirm things that I think that's why it was so valuable for her to be on Aussie's show, because she confirmed. People said they didn't learn anything from it. I learned a lot from it.
What?
She confirmed a lot.
Who said that? Who said they didn't learn anything?
I think it was the trolling. I think it was the anti-Karen fake accounts that said, "Oh, I didn't learn anything from this. This is all, you know, I see better streams." But I learned a lot from it. I really did, because I didn't know. We can speculate, but
the biggest point that I'm trying to make from the material that I've been putting out lately is that what's going on between Kate Peters? It's been going on for a long time. Like, I've known of it since at least 2019, and this Scott will tell you this has been going on for many years before that. But the main point that I'm trying to put across on my channel right now is that Kate Peters has seized on the O'Keefe's family's need to latch onto whatever they can to get Karen thrown back in jail. And the most important thing that I got from Christy's conversation was definitely that she was seeing that same pattern, that the O'Keefes were latching on to anything and everything, and they needed to distance themselves from, the Kate Peters Turtle Boy roo-roo going on. But they won't do it because they need him so that they can exact their revenge on Karen. And so that was, like, for me, that was probably the most confirming thing that she had said, which I completely agree with her, that they definitely are latching onto that. And I don't think the crowd understands the connection between what is going on with Turtle Boy. Like, it's a whole sideshow that has nothing to do with Karen Read. That's not true. It's a sideshow, but it's going on because the O'Keefes think they can use it to get Karen Read's bond revoked and thrown back in jail. Now, that was obviously all, dispelled by the grand jury back in March. So they found nothing on either devices that the grand jury felt compelling enough to indict Karen for. So that should all be, laid to rest now. But the O'Keefes needed to keep going, and that's the point that I've been trying to make on my channel, and that's why I had Christy come on, just to confirm that those connections actually are there.
They are there.
Yeah.
Aussie, someone asked, and because they might have come in late, who is Christy? So Christy's, that's her the username, the handle she has on Twitter, yes, on X. She's someone. Abby, tell us just a little brief rundown. Don't need to dox her, but what's her connection to this?
So
It's
actually,
just
Christy's
someone that hangs out with them.
Yeah, so she initially, when the first thing came out, she was pro Karen Read. She joined a bunch of the Facebook groups, and that's where she met Carrie Lama. So that's where her and Carrie Lama became friends. And then there was also another party that she didn't want to give the name of the party, which is not really relevant because they're not really involved in the case anymore. But that's how she kind of got into the anti-collective, where she met Kate, where she met Lindsay, the inner circle type of thing. So, over time, they kept feeding her these lies, and I think she started to believe them. And then it probably came around July with the Karen Read snuggle video that, she was the one, going out to the media outlets and sending it out, and she was the one posting it, but she didn't feel comfortable doing it because Carrie sent it to her and she asked Carrie questions and Carrie wouldn't answer her questions at all. So that was, I would say, red flag number one. Red flag number two was there was a situation involving Marty, the PI. So somehow Turtle Boy knew that, or there was a comment made that Kate Peters worked for the PI, and Kate assumed that Christy said something to Turtle Boy, and she did not. But it was a false account that said something, and Kate basically just raged all hell on her. So that's when I think that was the final straw in her, leaving that group. But after she left that group, they started creating fake accounts in her name, telling like the whole world that she's a bad parent. And she's actually close to Canton. So she lives a few towns over. And she hears a lot of, not just with the anti-collective either, but she also hears a lot of, gossip around Canton because she lives so close. She works in an industry where, and I think she's actually said on Twitter, so it's probably not a bad thing to say, but she works in a hospitality business. So, she kind of hears things where, the anti-collective are telling her these lies, and then she's hearing something different, just either from, just the townies and things like that. So I think that was really how she got into it, and then kind of how she left in a short description, if that makes sense.
How long ago, Abby, did she kind of part ways?
It was recent, so it was just the last couple of weeks.
And she's copping some serious. She's
serious shit.
Fact, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gone after her kids. They're doing
I'll
all
put
the
my
stuff.
Adidas on and get the hoops because let's go. I'll follow her and I'll back her up because I don't like to see people.
I don't like to
attacked.
see that either.
Come for me because I'll come back. But what we're not going to do, and I know that all of us, right, all of our community and our level-headed lovies, right, and we can get a little hot sometimes. We don't mean to. We can get a little hot sometimes, but generally speaking, we're incredibly level-headed, rational human beings. And what I'm never going to tolerate is you can say someone, you can give somebody a good old diggerino. You can hit them with facts. We can do a little, we can play pickleball with one another all day long, facts wise. But for you to attack somebody's children, their employment, their mental health,
Yeah,
we all need to look inside of ourselves and say, hey, like, I mean, and if you have to defend yourself, right? If somebody's saying to you, because I had Braden, the fake Braden, told me that I'm not a real nurse. I'm a terrible mother. I shouldn't have had children. And like, listen, then I'm gonna give you that middle finger, good sir, and you're gonna get a good old. I got something for you, Braden, right there. Okay,
well,
all day.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, honestly, I went after, even though True Crime Turd thinks that I'm obsessed with her, I actually went after her because of Christy, because she just kept saying these nasty things to her, just insulting her parenting, insulting her kids, making up fake accounts. And call me crazy, but I mean, she's just and I think there's a lot of bandwagoners. So there's a lot of these people like True Crime Karen on TikTok that try to monetize the whole situation, try to get more views. And that's really where I felt she was coming from. So obviously I try to kill with humor. I don't try to go back at them in a hateful way. That's why I made, my greatest hits mashup reel, because at the end of the day, I want to expose them for who they are, but she's just trying to make money. True crime turd. So why not just point it out there? Same thing as, yellow spoiled cotton cheese. He's even worse, Like, that's why I made the mashup reels. But that's why I did it, was really because of Christy, because we've been texting back and forth. Honestly, we text every day. I think she's super cool. She's a really good, kind soul. I really do like her personality. And I told her the next time I'm in town, let's have, dinner. And I just met her. I mean, not really just met her, but I mean, I hadn't talked to her before July because she just sent me the video and I told her it was a fake. And that was pretty much the end of our conversation until it started back up again. But I really do like her as a person. So that's why I did all that stuff.
Lisa Graham, let me address this, okay? I'm getting tired of people doing this.
Yes, right. You go, Ozzy, you go. I was about to. That was my next point. So, yes.
Lisa Graham, Karen Reid's bond right now can be revoked because of the BS that's going on in the background. And that's who Christy is. She's part of someone who has decided, I'm not a part of the BS going on in the background. I'm not going to bang Karen Reid up in jail using their techniques. Okay. Now, if you can't make that connection between Karen Reid's bond getting revoked and this side drama that's going on, then that's your problem. So make the connection and stop carrying on about you're not interested. If you're not interested, you're in control of the stop button. Press the stop button and can take control of your own life. Okay.
And honestly, she even told me, she said she's actually going more towards that Karen Reid did not do it. She does not like how the other side's behaved. And I think that she's extremely brave for leaving that collective. And you see all these other turds still in there. You still have, the Andy turd, the, what's the other one that's really bad? Lindsay turd. Carrie Lama. You have all these people still spreading these lies. And I think it was really brave of her to come out and just say, hey, what you're doing is really screwed up. And I want to bounce.
Yes.
That's what she said.
Yes, Ozzy, you said about the bond being revoked, and that ties back into Nurse Kim. What I did so far catch of your talk with Betero, he detailed the grand jury, the no bill in the grand jury in the case against the ludicrous case against Aidan Carney and Karen Reid as being engaging in witness intimidation. That and Betero did go to great lengths to make it really clear that no true bill is almost unheard of. 3 or 4 cases out of the few hundred that he had. And so can you just elaborate on that? Because it's important to what Ozzy was just saying about why this is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, we know that a famous saying is that you can indict a ham sandwich, okay, by prosecutors. And especially in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it is, and in all over the United States, but for the Commonwealth, for them not to indict Turtle Boy, who was indicted on 19 other charges, guys, and Karen Reed, who was indicted on 3 charges, including second-degree homicide, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident. This was a slam dunk if there was anything that could have correlated what this indictment was. And you know damn right well that Michael Morrissey, very close to a cardiac event in my professional opinion, and Adam Lally thought they were in the clear, guys. They thought, we're going to get Karen's bond revoked, we're going to send her to jail, and we are going to have her eventually take a plea because we're going to break her spirit. It was wild. The fact, and Mr. Bettero, in 150 to 200 cases, Miss Shorty, 0 has ever been denied for Mr. Bettero. He said with all of his friends, like he said, maybe, out of 2,000 or 1,500 to 2,000, there might have been 3 to 4 cases, because there is no other, like, a grand jury is a part of the prosecution. It's an arm of the prosecution, babes. So this grand jury only gets the information from the prosecution, right? All of it. And there is no defense there. There is nothing else. So if there was one iota, it's only probable cause. That is your standard. And the fact that they couldn't get a grand jury to even correlate that there was a probable cause of collusion between Turtle Boy, Karen Reed, and allegedly the defense, they were lumping in a lot of players here. That speaks volumes. And Mr. Bettero, under no uncertain terms, stated that this was a huge red flag behavior, and that he would be doing something about it if it was his client.
Yeah. On the ham sandwich.
Can I jump in?
Yes, please.
So what would be DA Morrissey's dream in this case? He would want Turtle Boy in jail. He would want Karen Reed in jail.
Yeah.
And he would want to push away the Free Karen Reed movement. He's the one that filed the 500-foot buffer zone motion that Auntie Bev rolled back to 200 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, when DA Morrissey is dreaming about how he's going to win this case, he wants the stage set with Karen Reed in jail, coming off the Norfolk sheriff's van every morning on the back of the court in waist chains and leg irons. So now Karen Reed is not walking through a crowd of supporters. His next goal, the reporter that's coming after his office and the corruption, have him in jail, have Karen in jail, coming in and looking disheveled, and her, she would get to wear court clothes or whatever, but not allowed makeup, not really allowed to do her hair. There would be reporters getting, photographs and videos of her in restraints coming into court every day. So that's like a DA Morrissey fantasy. And his other goal was to get rid of Free Karen Reed supporters.
There's nothing he wanted more than a third perp walk. Like, he got the first one when she was first arrested. He got the second one when she was arrested for the other 2 charges. There's nothing he'd love more than a third perp walk. And the O'Keefes, obviously.
Third perp walk, Aussie. It's a perp walk every day she goes to court during the trial.
True.
He would love that. That's what he wanted.
He wanted to make this go away. More than any single thing possible, is that he wanted to have a resolution, in theory, for the O'Keefe family, that he's going to say, look, I got her to plea, right? Because she wasn't going to make it to trial, etc. Now, guys, remember, this all occurred during Karen's first trial. And The letter that was sent about Aiden Carney, Turtle Boy, to about him not being able to be in the courtroom. You remember when all that bullshit went down after Aiden got his press pass, where there was a big hullabaloo, and Judge Bev Canoni decided that, you know, certain people she would allow him in and certain people she wouldn't. Well, that was bullshit, guys, because it had already been established March 27th of 2024, and our trial didn't start until April 16th was when jury selection started. And so they knew about this almost a month before. There was no reason that they should have been able to even present that filing into court during the first trial, because like Betterow said, had just one news outlet picked that up and said, oh my gosh, this filing is alleging, you know, that Karen and Turtle Boy and her defense team are colluding to intimidate witnesses. That could have gone heavily left for Karen. It didn't, thank God, but it was so disingenuous, and it was an ethics violation, in my humble opinion.
And
and never mind, you know, Morrissey's hostage tape, you know, for August of 2023. And I think the Free Karen Reed movement, as it grew, you know, in the pretrial, they hated that. D.A. Morrissey hated that. That's so bad press for him. He just wanted Free Karen Reed movement to go away. He wanted Karen Reed in jail, and he wanted Turtle Boy in jail. Right. So all this planning and scheming and trying to frame Karen Reed for colluding with Turtle Boy, and they've been hell-bent on this mission to get everybody in jail and to tell the Free Karen Readers to go home. That's what he wanted this trial to take place in an antiseptic environment without all these outside influences and, you know, public D.A. Morrissey, I'm the good guy prosecuting this murderess. You know, that's what he wanted.
I found it interesting then also, Kim, that Betterow sort of spoke about how he thought that was the most dirty thing to have insinuated that not only Karen and Aiden were in cahoots with witness intimidation, but that also Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, and I suppose by default Liza Little was also in on it, and how absolutely like scandalous and revolting. And to Betterow's mind, that was the most dirty tactic in all of it, because that would have poisoned the jury. The jury was out, you know, was in. The jury was there. It was midway through the trial.
Yeah.
And that Lally knew that, and Morrissey, but Lally knew that grand jury had returned a no true bill. So it was just the most dirty thing.
And if you look at the early days of court TV coverage, when Vinnie Politan's showing us Free Karen Reed people outside the court, and Vinny's like, have you ever seen this before? You know, this is crazy. Imagine D.A. Morrissey at home watching that on TV, like, you know, throwing stuff at his screen. He hated it. And before the Canton brainworm got into all the people on court TV and they switched their tune and became anti-Free Karen Reed, in the beginning, D.A. Morrissey's office was getting horrible press with the initial coverage by, say, Court TV.
Right. That was a good point that you just had on the screen, Shorty, about the DA getting, everyone ready for riots. Like...
It's funny, when you're boots on the ground every day, we get to know all the state police troopers that are part of the CAT team, community action team, that were security for us. Plus the Dedham officers that were there. It'd be the same officers day after day, and you know, we're chit chatting with them, and I'm pouring them a coffee off my tailgate. Violent? Are you kidding me? Ridiculous.
Right.
If pink pom poms are violent, then so be it. I'll choose violence every day.
I think that really annoys them, that when AJ or Yannetti say something outside the courthouse and everyone picks up on it, and you know, like I've been doing it myself. I'm producing songs out of their words. AJ,
which are great.
Yeah. AJ's way more poetic than Yannetti, so it's harder to make songs out of Yannetti's speeches, but on the same token, every time they say something, the crowd hears it, they cotton onto it. And I'm sure AJ and Yannetti know they're going to run with it. Next minute, it's going to be on a sign, or it's going to be in a song, or it's going to be, a big deal's going to be made out of it. And they hate that. By they, I mean, Morrissey and the people actually involved in this cover up.
Well, then the irony, right? So at first, we're paid, we're violent. So that was proven, obviously, to be totally untrue. But then Rita shows up with a box of pink pom-poms. You know how Rita is. It's Rita. And she's throwing out pom-poms. And then you have the Food Stamp 5 invade Free Karen Reed on the final days of the trial. And court TV and all the news cameras and microphones are right in their face. And one of the Food Stamp 5 is like, this isn't a tailgate or a celebration. How dare they have pom-poms? So we're getting criticized for allegedly being violent. They take it all the way to the other side of the spectrum, and Free Karen Reed is too happy.
Yeah.
I think that's also why the on Twitter, on social media, the trolls get so incensed when you don't. I personally don't engage with them. I just mute. I'll block. I might drop a few clown emojis into as a reply, and then, or I might get them with a, sit the fuck down. Your ignorance is showing, or your bias is showing, or something, and then I dip out. I think it's a similar thing, and that often gets them more riled up. And I think it's a similar thing in IRL, in real life, that they want for the Karen Reed supporters to step over into the kind of vile tactics that are used on social media by the other side. And I think it infuriates them that just doesn't happen.
Well, if you ever noticed, sorry. No, but even if, as far as responding to them, if you respond to them with hate, that's what they want. They want you to start swearing at them. They want you to insult them. They want you, they want to screen capture every tweet that you do that's just like a hateful tweet. So that's why I always say, if you're going to, go at the trolls, just be funny about it. Just be like humorous about it, because they don't know what to do. They have no idea what to do if you do it that way.
So the point that Scott made about the Food Stamp 5, it just makes me laugh that everybody knows who the Food Stamp 5 is, and yet they're sitting there scratching their heads going, who's Christy? She told you she's one of the Food Stamp 5s. She told you that in the interview. So sitting there scratching your heads going, who is she, when you know exactly who the Food Stamp 5 are, really just it gets on my goat.
Well, to roll this all the way back to Friday with Jim Ferris in front of the judge, first of all, he's wearing one of those stupid blue Justice for JJ t-shirts, which I found funny. And we didn't see this coming. Nobody knew it. They gave him a restraining order, so he can't be near Turtle Boy anymore. And Jim Ferris took offense to that. He's like, well, I work at D&E Pizza, and what if he comes near me? And the judge is like, once you hire a lawyer, talk to your lawyer. I can't give you a legal advice, but basically you got to stay away from Aiden Carney. That's about all the speaking he did. So he walked out of there with a restraining order, which actually was shocking, because none of us saw that coming.
No. Brain fart.
Clarky Ducksworth wants his head bitten off.
Yeah, I'm just talking. Please enlighten Ducksworth as to who Christy is. Or go back.
I know he's joking. I just showed him where my goats are tied, so I expected a few jokes to come of it.
I just wanted to say, may I say about Leah Baker saying just the last comment, Shorty, it was about that Adam Lally was permitted, in my opinion, and that's not even an opinion at this point. Let me call it as a gosh darn fact, okay? Because there was no repercussions and no accountability for this prosecution to get up at pre-trial conference after conference after hearing up to and including pre-trial, right? That the final conference, they were saying that about lab results, okay, and samples, and they couldn't give us dates, or they did not give us, us being the defense, because I'm Mr. Yannetti's intern. But no, I'm not lying. I lie, but I'd like to be a manifesting bitch. Okay, so anywho, there were so many inconsistencies with what the Commonwealth said every time they opened their mouth during a hearing. And there would be backup information from Liza Little, from David Yannetti. We got this email 36 days ago. No one has answered. And there was no timeliness with evidence. There was no timeliness with the final, oh gosh, I can't even, there was just so many different obstacles that this defense handled to the best of their ability. And this started way before the trial.
Yeah, it did. And I don't think they tried to verify anything. They didn't do any hash values even on, and I don't pretend to know Celebrate, but even on the Sally Port video, which is kind of more my jam of the video realm, but it was so easy just to validate that. They inverted the video and then arguing back and forth if it's real or not. And they could have just easily clicked a button in Equivision and said, authenticate. And they never did it. And why didn't they do that? If there was any, argument that it was, not real, why wouldn't they authenticate it? And they didn't do that with a lot of things. They didn't authenticate any of the videos, which was kind of infuriating to me. So just to riff off that point.
Well, and let's go back to even that, oh gosh, the screenshot of Allie and Colin's text message that was allowed to be entered as evidence in a murder trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I blacked out. What I did, okay, did 3 spins on the rings of Saturn that day, okay? Almost entered a different solar system. I didn't. I stayed in us. But anywho, it was so wild to me. And then they gave all the pushback in the world of saying, I don't know if we can admit these photos of Colin into evidence. How dare you? How dare you? We can't authenticate. Is this real? Really?
Judge Canoni.
I mean, they're probably more real than the Sally Port video, to be honest. So, I mean, why not?
Judge Canoni let every piece of shady evidence in by the prosecution, but she tried to thwart some of the evidence being brought by the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, to Abby's point, I just wanted to make a point that whole Karen and AJ video completely backfired on them, because their intention was to make Karen look like a homewrecker. But what did they do? They went and jumped up and down and celebrated that AJ wasn't wearing his wedding ring anymore. So who's the homewrecker now, guys? You totally self-owned like Lally does.
Yeah, that one was an infuriating video because, I mean, I already proved, I have 9 pages proving that. I don't know if it happened, if it didn't happen. Honestly, the context doesn't really matter. I came at it from a perspective of this video was made into an HEIC from it wasn't a live capture. So they recorded a video and they made it into a live photo. All the data proves it. But they're going around saying that this is a live capture. This happened at this time. And it didn't. The data proves that it did not. So that was where I was coming at from the Snuggle video, because why would you lie about that? Why wouldn't you just say, here's the video? And they made it a live photo because AI, a deep fake, takes at least 6 seconds to process to, offset a deep fake. So when they first went, and this is what Chrissy told me. So Chrissy told me kind of in private, which we didn't really get to touch upon in the interview, was that the video that she initially received, and the only video that she gave me was a screen capture. She did not have the HEIC live file. So this file was given to me by On the Source SC, no, On the Record SC. She's one of, she's part of the anti-collective. But Christy could not produce that file. So where did that file come from? Christy only had the screen recording, and that screen recording was rejected from Twitter because it said it was a deep fake. So they made it into a shorter video so it could not be detected. And they tried to make it look like a live photo so they could, put some, I don't know if it happened or if it didn't happen, but it just wasn't a live capture. So I thought that was kind of interesting that she didn't believe it either, because she asked a lot of questions about it, because every time she uploaded it, Twitter denied it.
Because Twitter's got an AI algorithm that detects fakeness. Yeah.
This whole prosecution of Karen Reed was basically to try to character assassinate Karen Reed and paint her in the most horrible brush because they literally had no evidence. None of these eyewitnesses witnessed the crime. They didn't have much except to rely on what I believe to be planted evidence. So how are we going to like paint Karen Reed as this monster to the jury? We're going to bring in these witnesses about Aruba, and we're going to drag the niece and nephew in there, and everybody. The whole goal of the prosecution was trauma, to paint Karen Reed as this evil monster, either in the courtroom or in the public eye.
Yeah, I think
Debbie, she's fine. I just spoke with her. She's off to bed, so she's doing fine. She knows she's going to keep getting the pushback and the hate, but she's fine. She's handling it. She's very happy that she did it, so she's not regretting anything.
And I think she I hope she knows, and Aussie or Abby, if you could pass on to her from, I guess I probably can speak for most of chat, maybe not Lisa Graham, but I did hide Lisa Graham because I think maybe she was a troll, that I'm so proud of her and I have so much respect for her, for anybody who can come out and say, like, speak truths and say, you know, yes, or everything she said. I mean, I can't stress enough how good an interview that was and how valuable what Christy had to say is, and that she has all of our support, regardless of who she's friends with, because at the end of the day, she made some really good points that she's having very big second thoughts now about those people and their motives, and I guess being now attacked by them and ostracized by them, by all accounts, is going to only further make her realize what a bunch of awful
bunch of turds. Bunch of turds. That's all they are, is a bunch of turds. But yeah, that's really what I got out of it too. And I think that a lot of the things that the anti-collective are putting out is just to really vilify, in a PR campaign to vilify Karen. That is their whole agenda. If it's true, if it's not true, it doesn't really matter to them. And that's the infuriating thing, where they can release, and I think even half the photos that they release, I probably like 2 or 3 specifically, like clearly like they're Photoshop, like they're AI video, like not AI videos, but AI photos too. So I don't think that there's any extent that they won't go to it. And that's, again, why it's important to have people like Christy. When we first talked, she said, yeah, you know, I asked a lot of questions about that video because I was the one that uploaded it and it did not go through. I could not get it through. And when, you know, she gave it to me initially, she never gave me the live photo. It was actually another member of the Anti-Karen Collective that gave me the live photo. So for Carrie, you know, for Carrie Lama to go out on Twitter after they had their little falling out and say, oh, it was Christy that claimed it was, you know, a live photo, she's the one that sent it around, when it was really Carrie Lama behind the scenes with Kate. Because I think Kate was the one, in my opinion, I think Kate was the one that did it. 100% think it was Kate.
If you look at it from my black-pilled, darkest cup of tea you ever seen point of view, how I think the corruption is so bad, I look at it from a very black-pilled point of view. But D.A. Morrissey is backed into a corner. He will stop at nothing to get some sort of conviction on Karen Reed to save himself. They're willing to stoop as low as to work with Kate Peter. They're tripling, quadrupling down, whatever they can do. It's desperation time.
And that's where the mistakes come, Scott. And this is I mean, granted, there were a lot of mistakes, but what I have always said is that even if you go back to February 2nd, 2022, guys, we're at Stoughton District Court. You are listening to Adam Lowley. You see Karen, puffy-faced, eyeballs. You know she cried for 96 hours prior, since January 29th, 2022. That coming upon the scene, she did finding Officer John O'Keefe at 34 Fairview, right? So you are listening to Adam Lowley read his statement of his facts, right, of the case, statement of facts of the case in the indictment. And we hear 15 minutes of Jennifer McCabe's statement. Okay. And Jen said, and then Jen said, and then Jen said, and I go, oh my God, Jen was there. Jennifer McCabe was there. I go, oh my God, what was she doing? and she didn't go outside and get him. That's weird. Jen wasn't there. Like, what are you talking about? You took a statement from one witness of the 3 that you spoke to, including Boston police officer Brian Albert, Kerry Roberts, who joined, like, was not raging against any machine. She fell in line, okay, and her brain was cooked. And in my opinion, Jen had to do cleanup crew, and she was saying, I am going to spin the woman could have a PR firm, I'll tell you that, because she had everybody convinced until when TB comes, boom, knocking down the doors and saying, hey, this might make you a little uncomfy, but you're going to need to look a little deeper into this. Now let's read some court filings. Now let's see what actually happened. And now let's try to put together these pieces. And we all, I believe most of us now are at a place where we say, oh God, how deep does this go? Just like Scott said. But, you know, with Karen, at least, it could have been any of us.
Debbie says, I want to know what KP is getting for doing this. Do we think
revenge? Plain old revenge. She wanted revenge on Turtle Boy. So I just want to put 2 pieces together here.
Yeah.
What Kim was just saying about Jen McCabe. Jen McCabe and KP have hooked up, and they're the ones behind this. You hear that in the whistleblowers conversation.
Yeah.
Jen McCabe's driving KP's revenge. So Kate Peters offers Jen McCabe, I can give you revenge. I can give you what you want with getting Karen locked up, her bail revoked, but I want revenge on TB. So they're kind of feeding each other, if that makes sense. What do they each get out of it? And that's what each of them gets out of using each other.
I think
sorry, Abby, I was just going to say Leah Baker, and I think in terms of what she's getting out of it, she's getting leniency on her charges. Obviously, she should be already in jail from her, you know, she should have.
That's what I was just going to mention too.
Okay, sorry, go Abby.
PI, for Christ's sake, yeah.
Yes, exactly. She's an informant, and she would possibly be getting financial kickback, but probably not. She just steals the money. But definitely leniency on her charges. Otherwise, she would absolutely be back in jail, in prison.
And she would do all this anyway, even without, you know, being given something as a reward. She would do it all anyway. But it's just to the point that Kim was making, that Jen McCabe's got to control everything. She's got that control freak urge that she's got to be in charge of absolutely everything and how it's going to go down. And so she had to do that with Krusty. And it's interesting because Krusty's also that control freak. And what you normally see when you have 2 control freaks who team up like that, they don't stay a team for too long because they both need control. So we'll wait for that fallout, and it will happen eventually. Yeah.
And I think that if you ever look at Krusty, or I like to call her Voldemort, because you know she's like the ultimate evil. But if you ever look at Voldemort, she wants to be like this like YouTube influencer. She goes on everybody's show. She has to call in when something's publicized, even if it's a Canton community meeting. She has to be there. I think she has a longer game too. So I think A, it's leniency, and B, she's trying to make a name for herself as like this true crime turd, you know, that has all the authority of, you know, getting justice for the families, which is really far tracked. I think she's just trying to get some monetization out of it as well. So that's my only other thought. I think there's a lot of aspects to that.
I don't fully understand what her end game is, because I don't see how this ends well for her, because
it doesn't, but she's stupid, so she doesn't even know social media, so she's stupid.
Thank you, Abby. She's been doing this for years, like decades. Like before she even met TB, she was already doing it to another guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he was another YouTube influencer that she went after, and then he sued her.
Well, some of her pending charges are from one of Aiden's former friends, girlfriend, whatever, you know, Lauren Murray. She went psycho on her, ended up having a restraining order, and she's just this insane, driven, I'm getting Turtle Boy at all costs woman, and that's way before Karen Reed.
And she's a manipulative turd. I've always said that from like the moment I got on Twitter, which was Again, I was kind of late on the Twitter thing. I joined kind of towards the end of the trial, but I immediately recognized her post, and it was, again, I think that video was the one that really like kind of got me going on Kate. But she has an agenda. She definitely has an agenda. I think it's I want to be relevant. I'm insecure. I need to call out other people, like say nasty things to make myself feel better. And I also want to make money out of it. And I'm also going to probably get sued for libeling people because they like to say defaming. Let's just say defaming. Also, that's the other thing that makes me mad about like the Twitter. Now you have, you know, that Julie chick from I call her the Real Housewives of Stop and Shop, where she's threatening to sue people for defamation. It's called libel. When you put something in written fact, it's called libel. But I mean, when you have libel, you have to have unclean hands. And all of those people in the anti-Karen collective have unclean hands. So she's going around threatening a lot of the pro-Karen Read people when she doesn't even know what she's talking about. They know nothing about social media. They know nothing about like media. Because if you were an influencer, you would know what you can and cannot do. And they don't know what they're doing at all. So
I think there was a super chat a while ago, and I can't pull it back up, but it was referencing, Kim, your face when you heard the connection of Marty to KP. That you were.
Yeah.
But the other thing I found interesting in that was that there's a direct Brian Albert link there also. So it's
I thought that was interesting too.
Very
They're
interesting.
in the starred tab, Shorty, just so you know. There's a little tab there next to live that says starred.
Of course they are.
Yeah,
so
I like
getting
for that. I don't have that feature in Restream, but StreamYard doesn't like me like using up all my hours. Like so I got to switch between the two. What I can't get free in StreamYard, I'll get in Restream. So I switch between the two quite regularly.
Yes.
But,
yes. So yes, some really wild things coming out. So again, I go back to our friend Lisa Graham saying, I don't see what this is important. What does it matter? And if it's true, well, obviously it's true, Abby and Aussie, that you've been getting comments that I didn't learn anything new. I'm sorry. There was a lot new stuff learned there and in that interview. And I think it was very valuable.
At least it was confirmation. You know, I think that it's one thing to confirm on the pro side. You know, we have a lot of people saying, oh, this is untrue. But when you have another party that's kind of on the dark side that comes to the light and they confirm everything that you've been saying, I think there's a lot of value in that. And that's why I would like to have Christy back. I think that she offers a lot of valuable insights. But that being said, you know, that's why, again, I kind of was a little thrown back when there was comments about that, because I'm like, look, this is gold. This is media gold. We have an insider. Like, let's treat them nice. Like, let's welcome them back, because what else can we learn that they know? And I think that was definitely like the interesting part of it. And I don't think she's protecting Brian either. I think there was just a comment on there that why she's protecting Brian. She actually said that Brian was also working for Marty. So I think that was an interesting take on the interview as well.
I think that comment was Krusty's protecting Brian. I don't think they were saying Christy.
Scott and Kim, I think maybe Debbie asked before. I know they say the feds are involved, but are they? Scott, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think we believe all along that the feds are involved. I would say the only tangible proof the feds are involved was the arrest of Farwell for Sandra Birchmore.
And the 3,000 plus.
And then the letters to the DA's office from U.S. Attorney Joshua Levy warning DA Morrissey to drop the Karen Read case. You know, in good and conscious, we can't allow this trial to go forward. Of course, Morrissey, like Mark Betterow says, they're going to keep coming like zombies. So that forced U.S. Attorney Joshua Levy to dump the 3,071 pages of TUI onto the mess, hoping that would stop Morrissey. But no, they're still coming. Yeah, one of the funniest days in the pretrial is Adam Lally's assistant there that never helped Adam Lally during the trial itself. One of the few times I remember her speaking in the pretrial stuff.
Laura McLaughlin?
Yeah, she stood up and said, well, you know, these 3,000 pages of, federal TUI, there's really nothing to see here, folks. I mean, there's nothing in there. And then you watch the trial. There was tons of Chewy injected into the trial. Just the fact that Proctor had to answer to those texts. That's all FBI procured information. The fact that, you know, Brian Albert, they were throwing away their phones on a military base. None of that information, or the Ocker crash daddies, all that stuff came from the federal TUI injected into the trial by the feds. So the feds aren't a fantasy. They're here. They're real.
I just want to point out to people who don't understand it, and I try to point it out as often as it comes up, they don't have a straight black and white case where there's evidence left, because we know they got rid of the dog, they ripped up the concrete, sold the house. They got rid of a good majority of the evidence. So the feds don't have this information that makes it an easy open and shut case. What they have is a lot of circumstantial. So they've got to catch them out doing other things as well in order to catch them in the net, because they don't have the evidence, the straight black and white evidence anymore. So this is going to take a lot longer. In the Matthew Farwell case, that was a lot quicker because they had black and white evidence in their texts to each other. So when it comes to the Karen Reed case, a lot of the evidence is already destroyed. It's already gone. It's already been sold on. There's just so much that where they did cover their tracks. So it's going to take the feds a lot longer to jam them up with enough evidence to be able to get a conviction. And you got to remember that even after the feds have done an arrest, they still got to get a conviction. Just because someone's arrested doesn't mean they're going to get convicted. You got to have the evidence to get them convicted. And so that's what I think the feds are. I won't say stalling. I'm just going to say it's a lot more difficult a case to put together because it's still got to go through a DA or someone above them to say, yes, we can get convictions based on this evidence. And,
I mean, not to go off on a tangent, but getting to the Sandra Birchmore case. First of all, I jumped up and down with joy when the U.S. Attorney Joshua Levy arrested Farwell, and that he used a creative charge about witness intimidation, meaning he unalived the witness. Matthew Farwell wasn't arrested for the unalive of Sandra Birchmore. He was arrested for the ultimate form of witness intimidation, erasing her life. But if you think about that logically forward down the road, how did Matthew Farwell walk the streets for 3.5 years? Because D.A. Morrissey's corrupt state police detective unit let him walk. Right. So I don't see how Matthew Farwell's arrest stands alone.
It does.
The ultimate conclusion of that case by the federal authorities is to go after the people that allowed him to get away.
Yeah, no, you're so right, Scott. And that is, I just like a reminder that nobody had on their bingo cards that Matthew Farwell was going to be arrested for this, because the only people who were talking about Farwell's connection was the Case season 2, and that was Kirk Minahan and Dave Cullinane, my friend, that they were the ones, well, of course, and Mizzy, like Mizzy, all the love to Mizzy and Suzanne as well. But like there was no other establishments, like news organizations weren't touching that with a 10-foot pole. You had an investigation, an internal investigation by Stoughton Police Department. You had what else did we? Oh, we had a medical examiner that ruled it a suicide when you had a break in a hyoid bone, which only occurs with strangulation, not a partial weight-bearing hanging as evidenced by a suicide. So there was so many roadblocks in the Sandra Birchmore case and holes, and people were sitting there going, oh my gosh, will there ever be justice? 2 months before Matthew Farwell was arrested, everyone said, oh God, I don't know, because it's been so long, because, what is really tying, because these cases and these similar players all had worked together to seemingly make it go away for him. And as Josh Levy said in his press conference the day that Matthew Farwell was arrested, he said Matthew Farwell almost got away with murder. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, it's also in Karen's case. I believe it will come out too.
What I think forced Joshua Levy's hand is the Sandra Birchmore estate started pursuing the civil case.
Right.
And some of the discovery that's going to be required in that case. I can picture Joshua Levy's like, oh, we have to hurry up and arrest Farwell right now.
I think to Scott's point also, they came in on a different charge just so that they could get him off the street. And this is what I'm expecting to happen in the Karen Read case. When the feds do make their move, they're going to be making a move on corruption going on in the background of the Karen Read case. It's going to be something that's left of center. You're not going to realize what they're up to. It's going to be a different charge to what you're expecting until they've got all of this evidence to be able to convict them on.
Well, and there was breaking news yesterday too on Sandra. Just sorry not to just go down a random rabbit hole.
Yeah,
but
I would love to hear
the new DNA evidence that's going to be presented by the feds. It came out yesterday that they're introducing new DNA evidence, and I'm going to tell you this, babes. I do not believe it's the saliva that was found on Sandra Birchmore's underwear, as we know. I believe that this is going to be fetal DNA. And that this is going
that would be huge.
That would be huge.
If I was a betting woman.
I didn't think of fetal DNA, but you're absolutely right, because that would have passed through her while she was dying. So yeah, I never thought of that. That's interesting. There's also some new papers filed for Karen Read's case as well that just happened yesterday, and that's for putting the car data back together, which I find extremely interesting, considering Trooper Guarino, I think it was, testified on the stand that they had destroyed it. They destroyed the unit, so it couldn't be put back together. So that's interesting in itself.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yes, but they're trying to get, well, you know, the long story short, I just got a huge Kevin message. Are you, Kim, are you concerned about this? Don't you have worry? And I don't, babes. You know what I don't have? Worry about that. Because here's the problem.
It's Kevin driving it.
Yeah, exactly. But Trooper Paul's interpretation, after I went down a rabbit hole about Toyota Tech Stream and infotainment centers and everything, and I was like, I'm going to engineer school next Tuesday. I'm going to fail out, but I'm going to watch every video. So I watch every video I can, including.
I love that.
Oh, I can't help myself. I'm like, 26 hours. Let's do it in 2 days. I got it. Okay.
I love that.
So I end up seeing this man who is like top of the line. I've gotten 2 emails from him. Is he willing to come on my channel? No. But will I continue to push it uncomfortably? Maybe.
Why not?
He's a lovey. He just is like, lady, I'm not going on your channel. But anywho, he told me that it is not possible because of Karen Read's Lexus LX 570. 2021 had the timestamps, okay? Because she had a car that was above base model. If you had a base model Lexus, the tech stream that came out showed the less than 5-second incident, all in which less than 5 seconds, Karen whipped that 7,000-pound baby in reverse, traveled up to 24.2 miles an hour for 62 feet. Well, fatally wounds Officer John O'Keefe. He pirouettes. He's on the lawn. Okay. Now, here's the thing. No one ever produced timestamps, date and timestamps. And I've been up everyone's ass about those timestamps because they exist, babes. And why?
They do exist. They're just somewhere that,
And what, if any reason, would Trooper Paul not want to show those date and timestamps? It's not going to show where Karen was. It's not GPS, babe, but it's going to date and timestamp that alleged rapid reverse acceleration. I have a fucking PhD, guys. Okay.
No, And
Hey, you know what? You
didn't-
can find anything on Google.
I was going to say you didn't even need Chat GPT. Well
Not
done.
one time.
I was just gonna give you the peace sign for that.
Yes.
He was pretty funny yesterday. Shorty already knows of this, but and Abby as well. But yesterday he posted like this whole like physics formula for like a submarine, and he's like, oh my god, I've got the ticket because he's got this whole formula. But the problem is it works in a submarine. And secondly, it's cold air pressure actually cold air actually increases air pressure, and so he's got the formula backwards. He's reading the formula upside down essentially. So but it was pretty funny, just that he couldn't even get that part right. Well, you need to be able to do binomial theorems to be able to understand what the formula was saying, and you can quite clearly see you got the 18 degrees as T1 and the 75 degrees is T2, when it should have been the other way around if it was going to support the theory that he was putting forward.
Well, Trooper Paul, the crime scene whisperer and stuff, he wasn't really good at math, and I loved Alan Jackson on Cross,
I know.
where he's hitting him with really tough math questions. That was hilarious.
I mean, I'm still taking out prop bets for if Yellow spoiled cotton cheese, Chat GPT that formula. I'm pretty sure he did. I'm still taking out bets for that.
I love the fact that he didn't even put that up on the screen, though. That he said, "Oh, this is what he did the Google thing," and then he's like that meme where that guy's pulling back into the bushes, or Homer Simpson, like.
I mean,
Alan Jackson reminded me of a geometry teacher I had in high school, and the teacher would tell a student to stand up and give an oral answer to the question, and it would be like a Trooper Paul answer. And the teacher was one of those like old school sarcastic. And it'd be like, what you just said has nothing to do with the price of putty in Egypt. Have a seat.
I
think
his comment just then, I just wanted to say, it's called a governor, and it's set to different things for different countries and different states, just so you know that. I'm not sure that it's a set 15 miles per hour in America. I know in Australia you can't reverse, you can't go forwards any faster than, I think it's 120 or maybe 130 before the governor cuts your engine out. And then I'm not sure about reverse. It's different for each state here. I don't know how that works in America, but just to fill you in on that tip.
And reminder, guys, there was not the the Toyota Techstream, not Lexus, Toyota and Lexus, they're brothers and sisters, the fancy version and the Timu. Okay. Now we know that Toyota Techstream was created for Toyota, the corporation, so that they didn't have lawsuits and they could determine whether there was user error or if it was the vehicle error. This was the only case that Trooper Paul had ever requested Toyota Techstream data in. And he didn't request it, babes, for a year after he had conducted his accident reconstruction at Canton Police Department on February 1st of 2022. So I have a little something for also Trooper Paul, and it's right there. Okay, sorry, I won't do it again. But I feel like he didn't interpret it correctly, that it is only supposed to be used as a tool in your tool belt. It is not there to give you specific accident recreate. It's not doing your job for you, and just Paul wanted it to.
Yeah. Can I clarify too? A lot of people argue that Toyota and Lexus are two different things. It is not. It is a Toyota Lexus. It is actually, Lexus is owned by Toyota USA. If you Google it, you will see Lexus is a division of Toyota Motor Sales USA Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Toyota Motor Corporation. So that's why it's got a Toyota, I've forgotten the name for it now, CPU.
Adam says, at no point during that testimony did Trooper Paul come close to an actual answer. Oh my God, the embarrassment was so real. It was so cringy. We are all now dumber for listening to him speak. Yes.
Adam, I reckon Cleven's been taking lessons. I reckon he has sat there and watched Trooper Paul's testimony over and over and over again. And between Trooper Paul and ChatGPT, he thinks he's on to something. Like he's getting his whole training from Trooper Paul, his accident reconstruction training, Trooper Paul style.
Wild. Let me see.
There's rumors that I have a new expert for the next trial, if there is one.
Oh, really? Do tell.
I don't know that they can. He's already locked in.
I forget where I saw that. This is new to me, but I don't know if it's trolls or whatever. They're saying they have a new expert, so we'll see.
Yeah, they're allegedly pulling out Trooper Paul, and that the new expert is trying to gather this additional information, and they'll give it to who? Their new special prosecutor, Hank Brennan, because an opening shut case, as Kevin would like to tell us, this bulletproof, just Karen guilty open and shut case. They've needed to now have a second trial, a new accident reconstruction expert, and a special prosecutor as a ringer to get it done. And you know what? You're still not, babe. You're never closing the deal. Karen's innocent, and she's going to be acquitted.
I mean, D.A. Morrissey's office. Does anybody remember Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Yes.
And the knight keeps getting body parts eliminated. I can still fight thee.
Yeah, it's just the flesh wound.
So, by the time we get to the second trial, Proctor is gone. Trooper Paul's testimony is gone. Yeah, we have this fancy smancy Brennan to take the driver's seat and tell Adam Lally to sit down. But I mean, D.A. Morrissey's case is falling apart like the knight and the Holy Grail.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I look at it.
I think I actually just posted a link. I made actually like a Trooper Paul versus like the ARCA experts of like, of like the crash daddy. I did a little mashup of that, which is really funny, where it's like physics versus physics. It'll make you laugh.
Scott, Kim just mentioned Hank Brennan, and I've had some questions, being not only not a Massachusetts resident or even a United States of America resident, but someone from the other side of the world. Scott, what are your thoughts on the introduction of Hank Brennan?
Perplexing. I mean, Hank Brennan was Whitey Bulger's lawyer, one of the most famous mob bosses in Massachusetts. I find it perplexing, but also fitting that D.A. Morrissey, who I believe one of the most corrupt DAs ever in Massachusetts, would hire a mob lawyer to be his prosecutor in the Karen Reed case.
It's just crazy. It's wacky doodle.
It is wacky doodle.
And I'm not like throwing shade on Brennan, but I literally don't get it. So when you ask me that question, like, why is D.A. Morrissey spending taxpayer money to bring in, and it's not even that he's hired as a special prosecutor because D.A. Morrissey has a conflict in this case. He's basically hiring a gun to be the prosecutor so he doesn't have to put one of his own ADAs on the front lines. That's how I see it. But I still don't understand the strategy. I don't understand the chess move. Very weird to me.
Because my very poor understanding of any of it makes me feel like if Hank Brennan at one point was paid by the mob to defend a mobster, although I do understand that he was very anti-police corruption and shady shit happening in on that side of the coin, is it not plausible that he's still funded by the mob, and that maybe the mob, wildly speculating, the mob are putting him in there to oversee things, or is that lunacy? I just
No,
don't.
no, it's not lunacy. So I just said I don't understand it, but if you think about D.A. Morrissey has his boogeyman coming after him, U.S. Attorney Joshua Levin in the FBI. I think this is kind of like D.A. Morrissey's rebuke. Like he's putting Brennan like as a stopgap or a shield. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Well,
That's his rebuke to the feds.
It is there it is, Scott. Is that his? So the beef
gonna ask
is that
about
when
that.
he was Whitey's lawyer, right? Whitey was a Fed informant. This has always been that there's a conspiracy. We're not the conspiracy theorists, my loves, because it is the anti-collective. I love that, Abby. I'm taking it, or I shall use it intermittently, with your permission. That they believe that this was all the investigation into the investigation was started on false pretense, and that basically Alan Jackson walked into Josh Levy's office and got a fake a fake probable cause for them to look further into it. That's not what happened, but that is kind of showing, it's trying to intimidate the defense, okay, which it's not. And they were like, pull up, bitch, bang, bang. Okay, that's exactly what no, I lied. Alan Jackson said when Brennan was hired. But it is also, it's weird because it looks, he was trying to play chess, but he played checkers, right? Because that looks so weak that you can't trust Lally to get the job done. That you had to hire someone who went after the feds previously and won, and that's your show of strength, shows your weakness, in my opinion.
Agree.
It's always been a political thing from Morrissey against Levy. He said that from the start. You know, the letters that they switch back and forth. He's just coming after me. He just wants my job.
Who would be D.A. Morrissey's only fair on this earth? D.A. Morrissey's been in elected office since the late 70s. He can run rampant his corruption. The only person he has to fear is the feds.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. And I really do think that Morrissey like spelled that out for us in those early letters when he said they were just coming after him for political reasons. So we know Morrissey's game in all of this.
I mean, there's an alternate theory. I don't know if anybody watches the JFK channel. One of his theories is that Brennan was brought in to come in and take over the case and drop the case, and that way D.A. Morrissey's office can walk away clean. There's multiple theories of why Brennan has been brought in, so we'll see.
Perhaps Brennan was brought in to dismiss the case for hubris, so that they can remove themselves from that decision. Phoebe Candy makes a good point there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was just saying. Yeah.
I'm still on Kim's side with this. I think he was brought in, and Scott's side, I guess, just to stab Levy in the eyeball, because he just
that's what I believe, but I don't know.
That's how he acts. Like he's just out there stabbing people in the eyeballs because it protects his position.
He's like a cornered animal right now, D.A. Morrissey.
He
so
is.
He's doing whatever.
It's wild.
So I think it was definitely a setback for the prosecution making Lally take a back seat, because it put the message out there that Lally bored everyone to death and put the jury to sleep and didn't make any points, and obviously didn't win them a conviction. And so I think probably the loudest message, besides the fact that it's Brennan and what is his caper, the loudest message I'm getting from it is that Lally failed. You take a back seat, boy.
Or is D.A. Morrissey going to throw Adam Lally under the bus? He brings in Brennan, and Brennan says, "Oh, Adam Lally screwed this all up." So then Morrissey can take the podium in a press conference and say, "Yeah, we brought in Brennan he discovered Lally's the bad guy and blame it all on Lally. I mean, you could go down so many tangents.
I mean, they might do that. I mean, Lally was just so boring. I could not pay attention. I did a couple different mashup reels of just like the trial in the last couple days, and listening to Lally was just painful. It was the most painful experience of my life. I actually had to put it on mute because it was so bad.
Right, if I rewatched the trial, I'd just skip through
so
him and just go right to Cross. I didn't even listen to Lally.
I couldn't. I mean, it was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
I had 1.5 minutes of Lally in a point that I was making about Karen Reid having her bond revoked. At 1.5 minutes, and so many people wrote, "Oh my God, I got PTSD from him." I can't listen.
I did.
It
got
didn't matter.
PTSD.
It didn't matter what chat I was in. I would drop in my little line, warning, Lally-splaining, quote unquote, can lead to dizziness and disorientation. Do not drive or operate heavy equipment after exposure.
I just called it lallying to death. Like, he would just lally to death you.
Someone in my
I
chat.
was transfixed. Like, I would literally, between the freaking OnlyFan and like when Lally was doing, I'd be like this. I'd be like, bitch, stay awake. You know, like I'd have to like,
yeah, you have to like slap
cold
yourself.
water on my face. So stay awake.
Someone in my chat, I think it was last night. I've had so many lives lately, but they said a lally botomy, like took out our frontal lobe.
But see, the way I look at it is because DA Morrissey's office has far better ADAs than Adam Lally.
Yeah.
It's almost like DA Morrissey, you know, like you have a coach picking out who he's going to put out there on the floor. If he's trying to tank the game, he puts his worst player out there. I guess.
I didn't understand why they didn't fire him like mid-trial. Like, why not just get rid of him? Everybody hated him. Even the jurors were falling to sleep.
I guarantee you, DA Morrissey's office has far better prosecutors. When you have a high-profile case like this, why do you bring Adam Lally? It's time to make the donuts, as Mark Betterow says. Yeah, if you're DA Morrissey, and your whole career and the whole reputation of your office hinges on a conviction of Karen Reid, why don't you have your best ADA out there? I never get that.
I mean, I like college football, but that's like a, that's like a basic college football team, like, T3.
And then when you get to the Auntie Bev, thing, though, I think that was DA Morrissey's influence to force her to be on the bench. That's why I think she's so corrupt and why she was there. She was supposed to rotate out of that bench. She had chances to recuse herself. The defense challenged her about, she refused to leave. And I almost feel like DA Morrissey's like, listen, Bev, you're on this no matter what. And you have to save this for me. You have no choice.
Yeah.
Debbie Blair says here, I see this next trial, if there is one, being another mess if Bev doesn't change. Well, Bev isn't changing. And if jury selection is not tainted during selection and during the trial. I don't understand. I don't understand how they can go forward with this other than hubris. And that's why I think maybe Hank Brennan and Aussie, the SJC, you feel like it's going to be all of it's dismissed, right? Is that what you think?
I was going to say.
Yes.
I see, but my black-pilled view of how corrupt Massachusetts government is all the way to the governor's office, I see the Supreme Judicial Court decision not going the defense's way because that's just how it is in Massachusetts. That's how bad the corruption is. But that's my black-pilled view.
From my perspective, I think if the appeal comes through good for Karen, I think that the defense team would actually do better by her by asking for it to be switched to another county, just as what's his name, Cobur's done, because the publicity has blown out of proportion since before the trial started. Before the trial, it wasn't near.
Oh no.
Yeah, but it's not going to be that easy for Morrissey to just change venues. That the defense is going to challenge that. Obviously, the defense wants it to remain in Norfolk County.
Well,
It's not like DA Morrissey can just out of the blue say we're going to prosecute this case. Out in Springfield.
I'm not suggesting it's DA Morrissey. I got cut off from the Starlink, but I'm suggesting that it's probably better for the defense after appeal to make a bid to move it to another county, and then they don't have Bev.
Yeah, it's a chess game, right?
It's a chess game, but that's the way I'd be playing it. Nobody likes Bev.
Yeah.
Nobody who's watched this trial has thought Bev is anything but shady. They know Bev's shady. Like, they asked her to stand down before the trial. So I think that's probably the next, card up their sleeve, but they need to finish this appeal first.
And
Yes.
Mr. Betterow said, and we discussed this kind of a little bit last night too, that, I said, what do we think? What do we think, Mr. Betterow? What's our odds? And he said, well, Kim, at the end of the day, what it will be, he said, I'm not saying it's a 0%, but there could be a chance that it would be, they're not going to drop. The SJC will never drop any of the charges. It will only be that they will perhaps move forward with the jurors to come back for that interview to see if there was, if there was verdicts on count 1 and 3. That is the only decision that the SJC would be able to make. And, he thinks that there is a shot, but doesn't know any percentage. I'm throwing an 80-20. But I felt very good that we got the panel versus the one, Supreme Justice, the court justice.
So that kind of win is exactly what I was referring to. The jury being put back in front of Judge Bev and her being forced to hear them out. And then how she responds to that being forced. And that's probably the biggest publicity that's going to come out of this, out of the trial, and the jurors coming forward. And now she's being ordered by the SJC to hear the jurors out. That's like the peaking point for publicity. And at that point, I think that it's very difficult for them to choose a jury from the local area who isn't going to be biased from the results of that. So I think that's why it's their next card to play. But I could be wrong. They could, Scott makes some good points for the defense wanting it to stay in the county that it's in. But I can also see some good points for them, trying to get it moved to a different county so they don't have to deal with Bev anymore.
But Bev could travel. She might insist.
I'm pretty sure this house is going to go down. I'll also do another project on that.
Yeah.
Is that the case? She can insist? How come the judge in the isn't doing that?
I would think so. If they change in a previous Cop on a Live trial, the Michael Chesna case, she believed that a Norfolk County jury would be too biased toward the defendant, Lopes, but she didn't want to travel. So what she did is she bussed the jury in from Worcester County to her courthouse.
Yeah,
of course she did.
Well, that'll be
so,
one reason.
I mean, if the defense really wanted a jury that wasn't from the Norfolk County pool, I would imagine she would do that again.
Imagine that's why they won't even try, because she's just going to head them off at the pass like she always does.
And I felt so bad for the Chesna jury.
So bad.
Because they had to be bussed in from Worcester all the way to Dedham every day. It's bad enough, most people don't want to be jurors or do jury duty. And that was like the hell of all hells if you were the Chesna jury.
Yeah.
Because there was one that would not move because of the mental health, history of Emmanuel. But Cindy Chesna, let's just for a moment say, not all heroes wear capes. And she was such just a pinnacle of grace, of integrity, of strength for her family, for her late husband. And she was rallied by support by rallied around by Weymouth Police Department. And her impact statement was so profound this summer that it like it like got my hair on my arms standing up. And also, you know, I just send all of my love and healing energy towards her and her kids.
Absolutely. I actually went back at Scott's recommendation to see whether I could find on YouTube that trial, and wasn't able to find anything other than snippets because I wanted to watch it. I think, Scott, you recommended that on Aussie's a stream of Aussie's recently.
Yeah, I don't know how well documented that trial was, or if YouTube creators were covering it, so it might be hard to find it.
I had the same issue. I didn't actually find any court hearings for it, so it
I
might
did
have
look
just
too. I couldn't
Because
find
Judge
anything
Bev
for it
normally
either.
plays liberal activist judge. She's very pro-defendant, and the fact that she busted in the jury from Worcester County was all to, you know, on paper, give the defendant the most fair trial possible, which I don't disagree with. But I looked at it the other way. Like, she put the family through hell and the jury through hell. The first jury was hung. One of the jurors refused to deliberate. It was a big mess. It really was. Took 2 trials to convict a cop unaliver. Pretty sad. And the family had to sit through 2 trials.
Disgusting. Listen, guys, we've been going for just over 2 hours, and I know Aiden's just started, and I've seen the numbers plummet as everyone
Yeah,
jumps
I
over.
know. I'm actually modding over here in the background.
You're very good, Scott, Mr. Multitask. So,
I learned how to teleport if you want to know how to do that.
oh, teleport. Yes, tell me.
Grab Aiden's link and then go into your YouTube back channel
Oh my
to
goodness.
this live stream.
This sounds very complicated. For
Yeah.
sure.
Oh gosh, Lord.
Everybody knows that. No, everybody knows that.
Or you can just tell everybody to go over, and when they pop into the chat, you know what I mean? Just say Miss Shorty raid.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Aussie, Scott, Abby, Kim, Nurse Kim, sorry.
Kim, geez Louise. Yeah, you know me.
Lovely. Thank you so much
Lovely.
for an amazing conversation. And I will let you all dip out, and I will say goodbye to chat, and I'll see you over in Turtle Boys chat, I presume.
All right. Yeah, this was fun. Great show. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Oh, boom. Chat. Thank you so much. What an amazing panel. Thank you to Aussie. Thank you to Scott. Thank you to Abby. And of course, thank you to our lovely Nurse Kim. I think we had some good conversations there. Chat was amazing. I would like to say a very big special thank you to my 2 moderators that were in here tonight, Ernie, Birdie, and Adam, my beautiful man. Thank you so much. I think we ran a pretty tight ship there. Make sure you watch Nurse Kim's episode from last night with Attorney Mark Betterow, and of course Aussie and Abby's interview with Christy. Really important stuff. Really insightful. Don't let those trolls tell you that anything was anything other than helpful, insightful, and quite eye-opening. So hop in there and watch them. Thank you, Mr. Meathook, for your super chat. Love to Miss Shorty. Great panel tonight. Yes, wasn't it fun and great? Great conversation. So great conversation. Yes. Make sure you hit the like on your way out if you didn't on your way in. And afterwards, I would love for you to leave a comment in the comment section if you could. Share this episode, and I will see you all soon. Let's go out with a pretty cool song written by our girl Turd Ferguson, and the video done by my amazing partner Adam Drives Helen. Both great channels. Make sure you subscribe to both. Free Karen Reed. Mwah. Love your faces.
Our sister, survivor and warrior. Miss Shorty shows care and concern, broadcasting out of Melbourne, living street. 8,000 miles away. 13,000 kilometers never gotten away. Half a world apart, but united in the heart. Both are uniquely complex, bravely seeking what's next.